Hello there and welcome to Bryan Lomax Movie Talk. Now recently, for those who don't know, I just hit my first goal on my Patreon page. Now for reaching that goal, I did promise my patrons that the patron who gave the most overall since being a patron would get to choose a top 5 video. They could choose between genre, director, actor, actress, and as it turns out, I got 2 patrons who'd both given the same sum of money across the course of time. Being gracious sorts as they are, Jamie Honeycutt and Joseph Lionel, rather than making me do 2 separate videos, as I say, very graciously came together and came up with an option for one that they both agreed on, and that is my top 5 original sci-fi movies. So yeah, with this video you're not going to see any sequels. There is a reason for that, for going that route. Actually, I do have something coming up in the not too distant future, hopefully, if we can get on with it. More on that at a later date, but yeah, so no sequels and no remakes, all original sci-fi movies. What are my top 5 in that regard? So yeah, I'm going to count them down from number 5 to my favourite. So yeah, let's get on with it. At number 5, we've got the 1999 sci-fi classic The Matrix. This film pretty much set a new benchmark for what action cinema could do, what sci-fi cinema could do, and it really did change the landscape of cinema. You know, it influenced so many other movies and the way that films were shot, the special effects that were used. So many movies after this kind of, ripped off the bullet time things. Some used it quite well to quite good effect. But yeah, just the way that the characters in this film dress was kind of taken on board by so many other films, to the point that by the time we got to the Underworld films, it just felt stale. So many characters walking around dressed all in black leather, but it got old quite fast. But here, when it first came out, The Matrix just felt as fresh as anything. Now, I remember when this was released, I'd never heard anything about it. Seriously, the first thing I heard about it was seeing a 5-star review, glowing review, in an Empire magazine issue. And the big film that year was Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. Everyone was focused on the Phantom Menace. It's like, Matrix, what's this Matrix like? But it came out, and boy was it good. It was one of those movies that you had to go back and see it again, just to see if what you'd witnessed was genuine. Yeah, it was absolutely staggering, mind-blowing film. A lot of great philosophy in there. Some ideas taken from Eastern philosophies mixed with Western philosophies, and it just all culminated in something really special. And this character, played by Keanu Reeves, this Neo, gave us a new action hero for the modern generation. The high-tech kind of computer geek generation, which was really coming into its own at that point. This is before comic book movies and that kind of thing were really acceptable in a way that they are now. These days no one thinks twice about admitting to liking science fiction, to liking comic book movies. These days it's just accepted, whereas back when this film came out, not so much. And I think The Matrix, in a very big way, had an impact on that. It very much influenced how people saw science fiction and that kind of movie, manga, that kind of stuff, of which it draws a lot of inspiration. At number 4, we've got a film that I recently reviewed on my channel, as well as doing a video essay on over on my Movie Evangelist channel, and that is Danny Boyle's Sunshine. This film was written, of course, by Alex Garland, someone who is one of my favourite script writers right now, and is also fast becoming one of my favourite directors with the 2 films that he's directed. But yeah, just blinding stuff. This is a film that I liked a lot when it first came out, and over time it's just grown on me and grown on me and grown on me. And having watched it recently for the sake of reviewing it, it's just gone up to a whole nother level. As you can tell, it's in my top 5 science fiction movies, top 5 original science fiction movies. I'll just add that caveat. But yeah, I love this film now. I absolutely love it. It speaks to me on so many levels with regards to my own personal beliefs. It's a film about faith versus science, and the notion that maybe perhaps they don't have to be pitted against each other, but can actually work hand in hand with each other. And I love that. I love that concept. I love the way it's executed by Danny Boyle. Just the visuals on it are stunning. The performances are great. Cillian Murphy's wonderful in this. The main villain, which a lot of people have trouble with towards the end, I think is perfect. He really feeds into the themes that were set up throughout the first 2 acts of the film. So to me, it makes perfect sense the way it goes. It does throw a lot of people. They think it changes direction a bit too much. I don't. I think it's perfect. Sunshine to me is perfection, and I personally think it's Danny Boyle's best film. I probably would have said Steve Jobs this time last year, but like I say, having watched this again recently and going in depth with it, it's just made me appreciate it so much more. I love it. I love it. I love it. Sunshine, Danny Boyle's best film. Number 3, we get Inception, the Christopher Nolan film. He wrote and directed this, and he made it coming off the back of The Dark Knight. Now, The Dark Knight obviously made so much money that basically Warner Brothers said, do whatever the hell you want. Give us whatever idea comes out of your head, your passion project, just as long as you come back and do The Dark Knight Rises. So he came off the back of making my favourite movie of all time to making one of my favourite science fiction movies of all time. So this is an absolutely mind-bending science fiction film. Like literally, you come out of this movie just like with your mind blown. You're like, what did I just watch? And you have to go back and check it. But despite the complexity of it all, Nolan handles it in such a way that you never feel left out the loop. You feel like you're catching up a lot. You have to play catch up. He stays one step ahead of you, but he never loses you. He never makes it so convoluted that you become totally lost. And it also has an ending which I guess is open to interpretation. It must be, because a lot of people have different ideas about it. Personally, I like to think that he wasn't in a dream. I think you do see it wobble at the end, and quite frankly, that's just the happier ending. And I'm a bit of an optimist. But yeah, I love the ideas. I think a lot of the themes in this film are very much the same as a lot of what was dealt with in Shutter Island, which was released the same year, if I'm not mistaken. So DiCaprio kind of dealing with some stuff there, I don't know, but it's brilliantly handled. You look at the way this has kind of influenced films now, the whole gravity-defying fight scene. We've seen that in a lot of films now, and even with Doctor Strange, you think about all that reality-bending stuff, finds its roots here, I think. It's a staggering piece of work. Just one of those films that you can rewatch again and again and again and maybe get something different out of. But I love the way it plays with the idea of identity based on our thought patterns, based on our memories, really, and the way that our thinking can be shaped by experiences. Like they go into this guy's mind to implant an idea, and just that idea of how they have to make that idea take hold within him, how it's based on this notion that he has to believe he's thought about it himself. So complex, but so brilliantly handled, as I say. Just a perfect example of a science fiction film. Number 2, we're sticking with Christopher Nolan and we're going with Interstellar. Now, obviously, this film has been very much influenced by 2001: A Space Odyssey, as Christopher Nolan himself has been influenced very much by Stanley Kubrick. You know, going through Stanley Kubrick's work recently, I can see that all the more. For me though, what makes Nolan just that slightly better, for me personally, it is all subjective, don't get me wrong, and I got no problem with someone who wants to say that Kubrick is the better filmmaker because he came first. Subjective, you know, but for me personally, I'm more likely to go with Nolan because I feel he's got more heart. He has that kind of attention to detail that Kubrick had, you know, and he has that brilliant mind which is able to come up with concepts like Inception in the way that Kubrick too had a brilliant mind, was able to focus on technical aspects of a screenplay and things like that, and really, you know, just produce something artful. Nolan has that, but he also has the heart. He's also able to get emotion from me. You know, I recently looked at 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I openly admit that film is an absolute classic, just for what it did for the genre, for movies in general. And for this film, you know, without 2001, I doubt we'd have Interstellar. But I don't feel the way that I feel with 2001 as I do when I'm watching Interstellar. You know, there's at least 3 times in Interstellar when I'm reduced to tears because it's that good. You know, the performances, the way that it taps into something very human, very real from an emotional standpoint. You know, what these characters are going through, you know, particular scene to the point that it's been done to death now with memes and whatnot, where Matthew McConaughey's character is looking at the monitor and he's seeing these messages from his daughter, from his kids, and it just breaks him, you know. And as a father myself, yeah, it didn't take much for me to understand that character and what he was going through at that moment, but it was heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. Interstellar for me is... it is perfection. It is my second favourite science fiction movie of all time, and I can say that across the board. Even if you factor in remakes, even if you factor in sequels, it's my second favourite science fiction movie of all time and one of my favourite movies of all time, as is my number one choice. My number one choice is, like I say, not just my favourite science fiction movie of all time, it's one of my favourite movies of all time. And my number one choice is The Truman Show. Yeah, I love this film. I absolutely love it. It's another one of them movies that has just grown on me more and more over the years. When I first saw it, way back when it came out, I appreciated it a lot. I probably would have given it like a 4-star review. But as with Sunshine, this is a film that has really grown on me over the years, to the degree that, like I say, it's one of my favourites. It's a film about free will. It's a film about God and man's relationship with God, you know. It takes a look at essentially a God that doesn't give us free will. What would that be like? You know, what would drive us? You know, it's just like you have this character of Christoph who's set up this whole world in which everything is designed to control Truman, to keep him isolated, to keep him within this community that has been created for him. But it's not enough for Truman. He needs that escape. He needs to be able to break beyond the borders, and it's this thing that's inherent within us all, that no matter how much control is placed on us, even if we can't see it, it affects us in some way, and we have to say no. We have to break out of it, and so yeah, it kind of points towards the notion of free will, the fact that actually we do have that ability to say yes and to say no, and to go our own way if we choose. It's so clever, and like I say, the more and more you watch it, the more you get out of it, the more you see. It's a really great satire about the human condition and just about humanity in general. I love it. It's fantastic. One of my favourite films of all time. That is my top 5 original sci-fi movies of all time. Thank you to Jamie and to Joseph for being such wonderful patrons and supporting me so much thus far. I hope you enjoyed this video. To everyone else out there, please do let me know what your top 5 original science fiction films are. Post them down below in the comments section, and until next time, crack it.